The Galactic Academy of Unified Sciences sat on the moon of Varith 9, a pale ivory structure carved from mineral-dense rock that glittered faintly under the binary suns. Students from 47 species attended classes here, Kethri with their crystalline spines, Florins whose bodies drifted like living clouds, Salvani who communicated entirely through bioluminescent pulses. The Academy prided itself on being the most cosmopolitan institution in the known galaxy. And then there was Chloe. She was the only human enrolled. The only student from a Class 12 Deathworld. Most species didn't know what that meant, not truly. They'd read the designation in their datapads. Class 12, Extreme Atmospheric Variance. High Predator Density. Apex Tier Biological Threats. Native Sapients, Category Unknown. Category Unknown. That was the part that made Chloe smile whenever she read it. She sat in the back row of Professor Ulvin's advanced xenobiology lecture, notebook open, pen moving. A real ink pen. On paper. The other students had found that strange at first, writing by scratching a stick against dead plant matter, but by now, 4 months into the semester, most had simply accepted it as one of Chloe's many peculiarities. Ryan had not. Ryan was a Dravosi, tall, broad-shouldered by alien standards, with iridescent blue-green scales along his neck and 3 sets of retractable claws on each hand. On his homeworld of Dravoset, he was considered athletic. Elite. A specimen of genetic refinement that his species had spent 3,000 years engineering. He was also, by every measure that mattered to him, the most important person in whatever room he occupied. He had decided, on the first day of class, that the human was not a person worth taking seriously. "Earth girl," he said, loud enough to carry across the lecture hall even as Professor Ulvin was mid-sentence. Ulvin paused, mandibles clicking in irritation, but said nothing. Ryan had connections. That was the other thing about Ryan. Chloe didn't look up from her notebook. "Earth girl," Ryan said again, louder. "I read your planet's file last night. For entertainment." A few students shifted nervously. A Florin near the window pulsed a soft amber, discomfort. Chloe continued writing. "It said your kind uses fire to cook your food." He let the word drip with contempt. Fire. A technology species used before they'd discovered molecular reconstruction. Something the Dravosi had abandoned 60 centuries ago. It also said your oceans are liquid water. Not even pressurized crystal water. Just open liquid. Exposed to the atmosphere. Someone laughed, nervous, not malicious. The kind of laugh that tried to diffuse a room. "And your gravity," Ryan continued, warming to his performance now, beginning to pace the aisle as if the lecture hall was his stage, "is only 9.8 meters per second squared. My homeworld runs at 22. You must be so." He tilted his head, performing sympathy, fragile. At that word, Chloe finally looked up. She didn't look angry. She looked the way a person looks when they've just noticed something mildly interesting, a bird on a windowsill, an unusual pattern in stone. Calm. Curious. Slightly amused. "Are you done?" she asked. "Not quite." Ryan moved closer, stopping 2 rows ahead of her, turning to face her fully. Behind him, Professor Ulvin had set down his chalk. The class was watching now, 47 species, collectively holding whatever passed for breath. "I want to understand the appeal of a Deathworld student. The Academy let you in as a, what is the polite term? Diplomatic gesture. Because your planet finally achieved basic spaceflight. But what do you actually contribute, Chloe? What does a creature from a fragile, fire-using, liquid ocean world bring to an institution like this?" He spread his claws open, a Dravosi gesture of open challenge. Chloe put her pen down. She didn't stand. She didn't need to. "Okay," she said. "Let's talk about Earth." Her voice was conversational. Like she was describing the weather. My planet's surface temperature ranges from -89 degrees Celsius to +56. We have weather systems capable of generating winds at 500 kilometers per hour. We have geological events that reshape entire coastlines overnight. We have pressure zones at our ocean floors that would crush most starship hulls. She paused. You mentioned the liquid water. You're right, it's exposed. Our predators evolved to use it as a hunting ground. So did we. Ryan's expression hadn't changed. He was still performing confidence. But his claws had retracted slightly. Chloe continued. You mentioned fire. Yes, we use fire. We discovered it approximately 400,000 years ago and used it to survive ice ages, predator attacks, and the collapse of multiple civilizations. We still use it because it works, and on Earth, things that work don't get abandoned just because something newer exists. She tilted her head, mirroring the gesture he'd used. You mentioned our gravity, 9.8. That's true. Your planet runs at 22. That means every human who graduates from this academy has been training in 22 meters per second squared since we arrived. For you, that's normal. For us, it's... She picked up her pen again, tapped it thoughtfully against the desk. Physical conditioning. A cadet student in the third row made a sound, something between a laugh and a chime. You called us fragile, Chloe said, and now something shifted in her tone. Not anger. Not performance. Just a kind of flat, geological certainty, the tone of someone stating facts about the physical world. I want to be precise about this, Ryan, because I think you're confusing fragile with small. Our bones are calcium phosphate composite. Our skin is self-repairing. Our immune system is an adaptive warfare network that learns from every pathogen it encounters and archives the response permanently. We feel pain, but we don't stop when we feel it. That's not a poetic statement, that's neurology. Human pain signals function as information, not override commands. We can choose to continue operating through damage that would trigger involuntary shutdown in most species. Ryan opened his mouth. Chloe wasn't finished. But here's the thing I actually want you to understand. She leaned forward slightly in her chair, still seated, still calm, still holding the pen. You came over here to embarrass me in front of 47 species by listing the ways my planet seems primitive to you. Fire. Liquid water. Low gravity. And I'm not embarrassed, Ryan, because none of those things are weaknesses. Fire was the technology that let us outcompete every apex predator on a Class 12 Deathworld and build civilization on top of their extinction. Liquid oceans let us develop the intuitive fluid dynamics understanding that I used last month to solve the pressure gradient problem on our midterm, the one you scored in the bottom quartile on. She said it gently, the way you'd mention a minor forgotten errand. Low gravity means our musculoskeletal systems are running at 2.2 times their design load every single day we spend on this moon, and we haven't asked for accommodation once. The lecture hall was absolutely silent. Ryan's scales had shifted, the iridescence dulling slightly, moving toward gray at the edges. A stress response in Dravosi physiology. Chloe had read about it in Professor Ulvin's chapter on alien body language. She hadn't been sure she'd ever see it in person. You asked what I contribute, she said, picking up the thread again, and I think the honest answer is context. Every species in this room evolved in a niche. The Kethri evolved in crystalline cavern systems. The Florins evolved in low-density atmospheric layers. You evolved in high-gravity, high-structure Dravosi social hierarchy. You all have deep excellence and genuine beauty in your adaptations. But humans didn't evolve in a niche. She met his eyes steadily. We evolved on a planet that was actively trying to kill us in 40 different directions simultaneously. We became generalists. We can function in cold, in heat, in drought, in flood, in grief, in war. in the specific kind of quiet humiliation of being the only human in a room full of people who have decided we don't belong. She picked up her pen. And then we keep working. The silence stretched another full second. Then Professor Ulvin clicked his mandibles once, the very thin equivalent of clearing a throat, and returned to the chalkboard. As I was saying, he said, the adaptive immune responses of Class 12 organisms represent a fascinating case study in evolutionary pressure. Ryan stood in the aisle for one more moment. Then he walked back to his seat. He didn't say another word for the rest of the lecture. Or the week after that. Or the week after that. Chloe wrote 3 more pages of notes before the bell chimed. When the room emptied, the Ket3 student from the 3rd row paused beside her desk. Their crystal spines were doing something, flickering in a specific rhythm. That pattern, Chloe said, means respect in your language, right? I've been studying the lexicon. The Ket3 chimed once, affirmative, and left. Chloe capped her pen, picked up her notebook, and walked out into the binary sun afternoon of Vareth 9, squinting slightly against the brightness, her calcium phosphate bones carrying her forward at 22 meters per second squared without complaint. Just like always. Humanity, after all, had always done its best work sitting down.